Thank you guys for joining us. I have some liquid refreshment here.
Me too.
And if required, I'm going to get some special disinfectant, but it's internal disinfectant.
Yeah.
And the brand I use is purple.
That's right.
And I think it should be within arm's reach, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
That's true.
We may get through this relatively quickly, but I have to begin by saying that Rod Schwartz, you remember Rod?
Yes, I do.
He sent us something that'll be in the rabbit hole. And he said, like a good neighbor, stay over there.
Stay over there. Yeah, that's why getting some social distancing going on.
That's what I'm saying. And so we got like 8 or 9 questions people sent ahead.
Yep.
And I wanted to, before we get started, I want to say that we're just trying to stay connected with people. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to reach out and make whosoever will aware of the American Small Business Institute, which is the online division of Wizard Academy. And so any question you ask, even if it embarrasses Daniel, it's perfectly okay. It just doesn't matter what you want to know. It's okay to ask the question. Now, I can't promise you that Daniel will be truthful in his answer.
Yeah, that's true.
But I can promise you that I'll ask him. And so why don't you read the first question here?
All right, this is from Henry Greenberg. Roy, in times of economic uncertainty, when governments are recommending people stay at home, businesses are taking a big hit, how do you approach businesses that you have a relationship with and ones that you don't in a way that can show them you're there to help? I would like them to understand my hand's not out looking for money, but I'm genuinely concerned about helping them keep their doors open.
Okay, so Henry, it's a solid question. And you hid the answer to your question in the question. When you say, how do you approach businesses that you have relationships and ones that you don't in a way that can show them that you're there to help? And that's the secret. You see, you can never tell people that you're sincere, and you can never tell them that you mean well, because you just sound like a con man.
I'm cool. I'm trustworthy.
Listen, you should trust me because I'm here to help you.
That's right.
It's like, it just never works. So how do you show them? Well, here's a tip. What Daniel and I are doing right now is trying to show the whole world, hey, you're home, you're looking for stuff to do, you want to somehow get that sense of moving forward, and like the world is under a little more control than maybe the other people want you to believe. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to show people that, hey, we're here and this will pass, and we don't have to say it. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to show it. We're just trying to demonstrate. And instead of telling, we're showing. And so you had the answer in your question. And so when you give people something of actual value, when you give them something that makes them think or feel differently than they did before they encountered you, then you have delivered value. And if you really want to deliver something with high credibility, it is something where there's obviously no upside for you. There's no possible way that your sharing of that could result in you making more money or in you benefiting in any way. You can demonstrate that you're concerned about them by telling things that are beneficial to them that really have no benefit to you at all. And trust is a person's automatic response to that. So even if it simply means that you find something really encouraging, there's a thing in the rabbit hole, Monday the 30th of March. And it's something Jeffrey Eisenberg sent over. And it was a Facebook post from a guy named Jeff Ferguson who teaches at UCLA. And it was brilliant about the limits of e-commerce. And this guy teaches advanced e-commerce at UCLA.
Right.
He teaches it. And he goes, hey guys, this is the reality. The internet broke when we most depended on it. And he says, right now, you don't get stuff the next day or even 2 days later from Amazon. You get it like in a week or 10 days.
Yeah, maybe May.
Yeah, so he said, so we've actually overwhelmed it. And then he shows you the percentage of the actual economy that e-commerce and digital marketing even amounts to. Mm-hmm. And it's not that big. And he's pointing this out. He has a little chart and everything. And Jeffrey just sent that over to me. because he knew that I would find value in it. And I posted it in the rabbit hole because I knew people would find value in it. So, hey, Henry, when you see something, anything that you think could be encouraging or informative or help people think or feel differently, and you said, hey, I saw this and I specifically thought it might be something that you would find encouraging or useful, maybe you have a time to take a look at it. Sincerely yours, Henry Greenberg. And you send that to people. And if you get back the occasional thank you note, then hey, you've started a dialogue now. Just don't pounce. Because what happens is, if you accelerate things too quick with too big of an ask or come on too strong, then you disconnect again. And so slow and gentle is the way to go. But yeah, just deliver value to people. And it can literally be by email. It can be a little handwritten note with a stamp on it. Boy, that hits hard. People never get those anymore. So, next question.
What are your thoughts about PSA-styled messaging during this time? For example, XYZ company salutes the frontline health workers. We'll come out stronger together on the other side, etc. Some companies want to move this kind of ad without really mentioning anything about their products or services. Is that a good strategy? Ralco, Calgary.
Now, here's the reason that I put this kind of early in the presentation is because before I downloaded the questions that you sent, that people sent to you, I did all the work that I needed to get done today. And so, I've been up now for many, many, many hours. As you know, I get up in the middle of the night and start writing and reading emails and responding. And all of the examples that I'm going to give today were things I wrote this morning or late last night before I even saw what the questions were.
Yeah, is a PSA a good
thing? So here's the deal. Here's what's funny. 3 or 4 examples that we're going to look at that answer people's questions that were literally written in the past 24 hours.
Right.
And so I share that just to let you know that our world is exactly like your world. Exactly. We're getting asked precisely the same questions from precisely the same kinds of people that you're getting asked these questions, which is why I'm laughing a little bit about it. I'm going, wow, not only can I give you an example, I can give you an example from the past few hours. So here's how it got started. Here's the email to Devin Wright, who, as you know, has been a media buyer for me for like 14 years.
Right.
And it is from a sales executive in a major market that we really like. We like this guy. And I took his name off of it because, you know, there's no reason to, I think it's called invasion of privacy. You know what I mean? So I don't want to, you know, even though we like this guy. And so he calls Devin D-Money. And because we spend in San Francisco, where this is, a few $1 million a year buying a lot of radio plus additional money buying television and billboards. But just, it's like $3.5 million just buying radio advertising each year in San Francisco. So great station. And this is just something they said, hey, can we do this for you for free?
Right.
And so we're going to make sure that Dan posts this email so that people can say, it says, hey, we created this for Shreve and we can push it out on social media.
Yeah.
See below. And there's a link and I clicked the link. And this, and by the way, this has a voiceover and it's a great voiceover. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how I could make the sound work because I listened to it online on the Google Drive.
Right.
But when I downloaded it, it didn't have any audio.
Oh.
So we're going to watch it because it also has screen text.
Okay.
So we're going to watch
it
it with the screen text, but it also has this really world-class audio. Okay. Now this is the ad right here.
95.7 The Game and our partners at Fremont Bank want to urge you to stay safe during these difficult times, my friend. Do your part by washing your hands with hot water and soap frequently, making sure you keep others safe that are around you by practicing safe distance. Also, make sure that you help others that can't help themselves, like the youth and the elderly. Fremont Bank wants to give a huge shout out to everyone out there that we're all in this together. So do your job, do your part, and we will get through this difficult time.
And so what they were wanting to give us, this is just going to be pumped out all on social media, right, for free. And they're saying, hey, look, this is a little PSA style thing, and we would love to do this for your client for free. You know, their logo will be up here. like you saw Fremont Bank
Right.
logo
We'll
was
do
up
one
there.
little voiceover clip
And
edit.
exactly, and it's kind of like, so all of a sudden, it's like, hey, this is this little thing that'll be out there online, and people will see it, and it's free. Do you want us to do this for your client? And so it says all of the standard cliche things, you know what I
Right.
mean? Stay 6
Take
feet
care of
away,
people.
wash your hands, care about your fellow man, et cetera, et cetera. See, advertising is a tax we pay for not being remarkable. And anytime you're going to do something that is kind of a general statement, well, you're not being remarkable. And so here's my answer. I said, Devin, it seems okay to me, but I'm forwarding this to Lane and Kylie for a decision. I think the value of this is minimal.
Yeah, if any.
But if the station wants to do it, why not let them? And so I haven't heard back from Lane and Kylie yet, but the point is, I said, I don't think it's going to make a real difference. But if it makes people feel like they're doing something, well, there's some value in that.
Sure, yeah.
There's some value in that. And so I don't ever say, well, that's just stupid and that isn't going to work. I go, There's no reason not to let them do it.
Right.
But I also wanted to manage expectations and make sure they understood, I don't really expect a lot to come from this. You know what usually, in my experience, usually comes from that? Every charity that's looking for donors sees that you're out there and they assume you're spending money to put out this just generally helpful message to the public.
We could use some help.
And the only thing I've ever seen over the years that seems to be pretty consistently a result of this sort of thing is a whole lot more requests for, hey, could you give us some help? And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is sometimes people actually have more money than they have time, and getting their time to even listen to what you're going to ask is pretty tricky, which is what Henry Greenberg's up against.
Right.
How do I get people's time? All right, next question.
So Sean Katzbeck, a short question. Can you write a branding commercial in 15 seconds? I find it difficult to write something that can develop enough emotion to make it sticky. It seems in general that a 30 or a 60 is better for branding. Do you have any examples of 15-second branding commercials?
Strangely,
I do.
The first
now, is this with no previous context, starting from scratch, or did you have to establish them before you could move to a 15?
Boy, now listen. It's going to be really hard for me to convince these people that you didn't have some inside knowledge. Because if you're going to do it in 15 seconds, you cannot do it from scratch in 15. Well, you can.
Yeah.
It would be theoretically possible. And if challenged to do it, I could probably come pretty close.
Challenge accepted.
To creating a branding ad for anybody in 15 seconds. But what it takes is digging.
Right.
It doesn't take creativity. It takes digging. It takes investigation.
Right, to figure out what's worth talking about.
Yes, what is going to be a remarkable angle of approach? What is going to capture attention and create engagement? And then you can hold on to that attention for 15 seconds. And at the end of 15 seconds, make them think and feel differently than they did before. Now, as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago in the rabbit hole, it was a week ago, I think, Jeff Sexton answered a question for Anthony Dina. And the question was, blah, 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 what constitutes a story? Do you remember that? And as I knew he would, Jeff Sexton said, well, there was a contest among some of the greatest writers in America 60 years ago.
Yep.
And you can find all these writers that entered what's called the 6-word story contest.
Yeah, and everyone knows the winner of that one if you look at this.
Well, yeah, the most famous one was Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah,
and this is the 6-word story that has the beginning, an ending, and emotional impact. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. And does that have enough emotional impact to be memorable? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And is it less than 15 seconds? Yeah, it's like 3.
Yeah.
For sale, baby shoes, never worn. Can it be done? Yes.
If you're Ernest Hemingway.
Is it harder to hit? Is it harder to hit with impact in fewer words? Yes, it's harder. 15s are harder than 30s, 30s are harder than 60s. So are 60s better? Of course they are. I would always prefer to have 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Can it be done in 30? Yes, it can, but it's harder.
So do you aim 15s at recall of what you've established in 60s? Is that kind of your... Or do you ever try to add something new with a 15 to an existing branding campaign?
Let's look at the example.
All right.
That's what we'll do. So this is a TV ad that literally was sent out 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Before, as a matter of fact, it's the last thing I did before I started building this presentation. I downloaded all your questions right after I sent this.
Boom.
And so we needed a message that basically says, number one, we're open.
Right.
And number two,
We're not being dangerous
and by the
being
way,
open.
the county, Mecklenburg County, is in lockdown right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's allowed outside their house. Okay? Now, what you're going to see is the quote is basically the language from the officials.
Right.
And then instead of going into all these overused tropes of we're going to be careful to stay at least 6 feet away and always wash our hands like, obsessive compulsives.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've heard that so incredibly much that I actually said, you know what, the next person that says that, I'm going to try to put my hand behind their head and bang their forehead on something hard. It's like, quit doing that. We just hear that too much. And so I said, how can I say that in a slightly more memorable way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a technician who appears on screen. He's going to say, we've all been ordered to stay home, but, and then you hear, and you're looking at some B-roll, and you hear this other person say, air conditioning and plumbing services are critical trades designated as essential to maintain the safety and sanitation of residences and are therefore not restricted.
Right.
And so that's like the official language, right?
Right.
And you'll see the screen text on the screen in the quotation marks, and then you're back to the technician and he says, you can count on Morris Jenkins to deliver the highest standards of public health protocols. And so you can count on us to deliver the highest standards of public health protocols. Now that encompasses whatever the heck
Everything.
people think, whatever they think the highest standards are. Yeah, we're doing all of that.
Right.
Why? Because we're an essential service, and air conditioning and plumbing are critical, according to the government, because they are essential to maintaining the safety and sanitation of residences.
Absolutely.
And so just by sharing the official language and then following it up with kind of an equally official wording of you can count on Morris Jenkins to deliver the highest standards of public health protocols. Is this the first time they've ever heard of Morris Jenkins? Of course it isn't.
Right.
It's the first time that we have ever framed a message as a companion to the same voice that shut down the city.
Right.
And so the government says, nobody leave your house, it's a lockdown. Mm-hmm. And then people need to know two things. And so this is the email I followed it up with to the client. And so the owner, the president of the company, and the director of marketing, which is Casey, I said, hey, I've read the attached script out loud multiple times.
Right.
At the right pace, it is exactly 15 seconds. This says everything that needs to be said. It says, we're open because you need us.
Right.
And we can be trusted.
Yeah, don't worry, we're not going to get you sick.
And that's all it says. It says, let me know if you need anything else. And so, do I think of that as a branding message? Actually, I do.
Yeah.
Is, hey, we're doing everything that can be done.
Yeah. We're essential services.
Yeah, we're essential services.
Time of crisis.
And what we're doing is considered important enough that we don't have to stay home. We are available, and we take this stuff seriously, and we maintain the highest public health protocols. Yeah. All of which is true, by the way, but nobody's ever said it quite that way before.
Right.
And so, is it contextually in step with the zeitgeist, the mood of the time? Yes, it is. Is it an immediate follow-up to the city's lockdown? Yes, it is. And so, did we get it done in 15 seconds? Yes, we did. Does it have a little bit of a PSA sound to it? Kind of does. It's just an announcement to the public that we're here because we're considered critical, and if you need us, we're there, and you can count on us to maintain the highest public health protocols. Next question.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to submit questions. My questions are how to best dig up stories to create customer bonding rather than branding for B2B clients. Can you give examples of any questions or a difference in discovery process? Writing for retail, B2C, typically has an easier to define emotional connection in their experience. Jewelry, home construction. B2B products are often more dry, like a commodity, C-level execs, tough to sell. Uncovering emotionally connective stories is difficult. For example, I'm working with a plastic sheet manufacturer that serves a diverse range of industries, from semiconductor clean rooms and medical labs to industrial tank fabricators, exhibit makers, cabinet, boat fabricators, architects, etc. Sold through distributors and dealers. We're aiming to generate demand through their downstream end use. That was a lot of words. Michelle Evans. That was... Okay, yes. Dry, B2B, you're a commodities provider. How do you uncover that?
Okay. Now, keep in mind that, let's go back to the first thing. She said, customer bonding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, my examples tend to be emotional, romantic, and I don't necessarily mean me, Tarzan, you, Jane romance. I just mean an outlook that you would think that you would attribute to the romantic era.
Like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Norman Rockwell illustration is romantic because it's showing you an America that never really existed.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing you Americana. It's showing you an idealized America. So when you're thinking of things that are a little bit idealized, that's romance. And I'm really, really good at that. And I tend to attract clients, and I tend to prefer clients who like that sort of thing. But. And so her question is 100% legitimate.
Right.
Because all my examples tend to come from the romantic style of bonding.
Right.
But let me say something that you hear me say a lot. Entertainment is the only currency with which you can purchase the time and attention of a too busy public.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment. Now wait a minute. Idealized reminiscences, remembering yesterday or forecasting a future that seems better than this current moment. Okay, that's entertaining. But so is humor.
Right.
As a matter of fact, way more people use humor than use what I use. And it's just as powerful in terms of capturing and holding the attention of the public. And is there just as much bonding to be done with wit,
right,
and humor? And I mean, listen, comic strips. You know, back when newspapers actually mattered, you know, when everybody got the newspaper every day. And when I was a kid growing up, this is a real thing. Most people would never ever suspect this. The newspaper industry in the United States of America in like the 1960s and early 70s, okay, did more revenue than all television, local and national combined. All the TV networks and all the local TV stations, plus all the radio networks and all the radio stations, and the Yellow Pages. Combined, newspaper did more revenue than all of them. And so, do you know what the most profitable page of the newspaper was? Classified ads. There was no internet. They got more money per square inch for a page of classifieds. And back in those days, there were page after page after page after page. The classifieds could be like 30 pages thick. And that was like crazy, insane amounts of money. And then, what was the only two pages? There were two pages more widely read than the front page.
It's gotta be the
front page.
The funny pages.
The funny pages, the comics, yes.
Yeah.
And the obituaries.
Yeah, there you go.
And all the old people would read the obituaries to see who died.
Yep.
And what they died of. And so the obituaries, more read than the front page.
Right.
And the comics were more read than the front page. Hey guys, comics are still freaking awesome. And most of the time you're watching these memes, and all these memes are coming across. Manly Miller sent me one, and I should have uploaded it. As a matter of fact, a week from now, I'll make sure it's on the presentation. Manly sent me one just a couple hours ago that said, and it's a beautiful picture. of this big field of flowers that are really high, like sunflowers, like
Right.
5 feet tall. And there's all these sumo wrestlers in their little loincloths that are emerging out of these fields.
Right.
And it's the most inexplicable picture you've ever seen. And the caption says, "You have scrolled down through the memes so long that now you're left with sumo wrestlers emerging from a field of flowers." Go figure. And so the fact that it's a pointless picture, and the fact that he's trying to demonstrate how much time we're spending just following these
You hit the
lighthearted-
end, the dead end. You didn't know there was an end to
It's
the
like you
internet.
didn't know there was
you
an
hit
end.
it. You hit the
Yes,
last page.
Whatever you finally get to the last one, it doesn't even make sense. And welcome, this is it. And I laughed when I read that. And so yeah, if you're in a really dry business and you want to get people's attention and make them have a sense of connection with you and make it less dry and give your freaking plastic sheets some personality.
I had a friend who did sold trophies.
Yep.
In like little league level age group sports things, and it wasn't just baseball; it was baseball, soccer, football, everything, right? And he once created a video where he showed up in the uniform, and he's like, "Hey, I'm so and so from the," and then a guy off camera, Emerson's like, "Hey, this is for the soccer guys." He's wearing a full football uniform. He's like, "Oh, okay." He goes back and he comes back, and he's wearing a different uniform, but it's a basketball jersey holding basketball, and they said, "No. Soccer." He's like, "But we make trophies for the basketball guys too, right?" He's like, "Yeah, but this one's for soccer." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he goes back and he comes back and he's holding a golf club, and they're like, "Cut," right? And then finally it's just like, bzzz, and then it comes back to him and he's holding a soccer ball, but he's like holding it slightly,
Right.
like he knows he doesn't know how to hold it.
Right.
And like he's like, we also like soccer people.
Yeah.
We make trophies for all of you. And then that was the end of it.
Wow. Very
Right?
cool.
And so that was, that's B2B. He's talking not to the kids who are getting them or the
Right.
parent, but to
Right,
the
right.
coaches in the little league industry. And he's also demonstrating the breadth of what they create for.
Right. And it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, advertising is a tax we pay for not being remarkable. Is there any way to make, what was it? Plastic sheet manufacturers. Is there any
Right.
way to make these plastic sheets and semiconductor clean rooms and medical labs and industrial tank fabricators, is there any way to make them remarkable, memorable, entertaining, so it's more than just about communicating information? Absolutely. You just have to have the courage. And what I find out, by the way, this whole B2B question comes up a lot. It isn't hard to do. I've just never found anybody that had the courage to be the first to do it. And
Yeah,
everybody
B2B
goes,
tends to play it so much
oh.
safer.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, do you know who wears these handcuffs and just chafes in these handcuffs for many, many years now? Brad Whittington.
Yeah.
Brad Whittington
Yeah.
is a brilliant novelist. He's incredibly creative, and he's a freelance technical writer, and every high-tech company wants to get Brad to write their technical stuff for them because he's really good at it. And they make him wear these handcuffs where he can't actually make it remarkable or memorable or special because they go, "No, you're not doing it right." And so he does it just a little bit more colorfully, and just the tiniest little bit of pale, pastel color. And it's still so much better than anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the occasional, slightly more interesting verb than somebody else would have used. But a lot of people in B2B already know the answer. Mm-hmm. They're just afraid to say, screw it. And so here's my suggestion for Michelle, okay? You know how to do this, or you have access to people that could easily do this. Get them a little bit drunk and laughing their ass off. And then tell them you want them to come up with some stuff for this deal. Now, what begins as a joke that's just so outrageous you could never actually do it, after a while, you can whittle that thing down to a level where it could actually be done.
Right.
And something that just makes people start laughing so hard that stuff comes out their nose. Somebody says something,
Right.
and then you're going, how could we actually modify that in such a way that it was actually usable and could actually be done? And then the next time somebody goes, "Oh, well, you need to get us some marketing materials that explain the features and the benefits and the reliability of the company." and all this stuff. And go, yeah, we're going to do that. And so you come back and you give them exactly what they ask for. You know they're going to love it because they're predictable. You know, you said, when you don't know plastic sheeting, make sure you know your plastic sheet company, or whatever. You know, there's all this pablum that people like to do in B2B. And then they go, yeah, you did a great job. Thank you very much. That's just what we needed. And they go, hey, we did some extra work. I want to show you, and you probably won't use it, but I just want you to show you something that would sure, you know, get a lot of attention and create a lot of eyebrows would go up, and you'll be the talk of the town for a while. Do you have a minute? I'd like to show it to you. And they go, sure, you can show it to us. And so you show them this thing. Oh, I'm never going to do that. That's just crazy. Okay, good. So you got the one you need. Hey, thanks, good. And so then the next time they ask you to create something, you bring them exactly what they need. You know they're going to approve it.
I also got this extra.
Here's this other thing we did. Just play it around. So the only thing they're really hearing is, wow, these people keep working after they've done their work. Mm-hmm. These people love us. They're always trying to help us. And so do you know what? The third or fourth or fifth or sixth time, Michelle, that you show up with the work you did for extra credit and you know they're going to shoot it down, they go, I know we've been talking about it and we think we might actually want to do this, but in a limited way. Do a little bit of an experiment. And so then they show it to a few people and they'll get such a huge response from that little small sample that they're going, oh, we've never gotten that kind of interest. We've never gotten that kind of lead generation. Oh my gosh. We need to start being remarkable. And you're going, yeah, what an interesting thought. You know?
I only have one thought for the plastic sheet company, but it's so outrageous.
Oh, what is it?
I just want to see how somebody's standing there, and it's just a magazine graphic, and they're like, they look a little sketchy. And they're like, when we use plastic sheets, we only work with the best. In the background, you see a roll of plastic sheeting with 2 feet sticking out of it on the ground. And that's it.
This is like,
there's no explanation for it.
This is like the mob.
This is like Dexter or something.
Right.
You know?
Oh, wow. Wow.
There's no way you could ever put that on any kind of advertisement, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, evidently you don't need to get Daniel drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, he can do this kind of stuff just cold sober. Next question.
I know the math on advertising during a recession, gaining market share and having a bigger share of the returns when things turn around, but I'm faced with a new dilemma. Why advertise now when you can't even produce anything because of the shutdown, Jim Van Gilder?
So Jim is wondering, how do you get ads produced?
Well, and yeah, how do you drive traffic to something you can't provide right now? Right? That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm hearing. Why advertise now if you can't produce the thing you're advertising during the shutdown? Like if you're a restaurant, no one can come in. What do you advertise?
I read it differently.
Did you?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I know the math on advertising during recession, gaining market share and have a bigger share of the returns when things turn around.
Right.
What he's saying is, he's talking about advertising.
Right.
He's talking about advertising. But when he says, now I'm faced with a new dilemma, why advertise now when you cannot even produce anything? I'm thinking you can't produce ads.
Oh no, I'm thinking produce products.
Well, I'm answering the produce ads.
Answer the produce ads one. And then I'm going to ask the same question because I want to know about the products because I'm facing this problem.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Start with ads.
Here's the deal. Right now, most of the clients we have in America are in cities that are locked down. Mm-hmm. And I need to produce tons of new radio ads. And there's no radio studios for them to go to record.
Right, no voiceovers, no whatever.
There's nobody at the radio station going, yeah, come on in, and stay in this little closed booth right here and speak into that microphone. There's no one there doing that. Okay? And so how am I producing? I've written like 70 ads in the past 3 days.
Right.
60-second radio ads. And I mean, I've been working round the clock pumping stuff out because everything we had prepared is now obsolete and everybody needs new messages.
Right.
So, boom.
Oh, get your own microphone.
What happens is, this is the one that that we bought for me. Mm-hmm. And Dave Nevland, who has been my audio producer for 19 years, he told all of our clients, this is the one he recommends. It's made from Apogee. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's called Hype Mic or Hype M/C. I don't know.
Hype Mic.
But anyway, it works with iPhones. It works with iPads. It works with iPods. You can plug it into your laptop.
Yep.
And there's also a little shroud you can get from a different provider. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll get the actual recommended list of all this stuff from Dave next week because our clients are getting on the phone with Dave, who's working from his house, and he's talking to him on the phone. They've got the phone to their ear, and he's giving them the coaching, and they're just reading into this mic onto their hard drive.
Right.
They upload the file from their hard drive to him.
Done.
He downloads it. He edits.
That's the music recording world we've been living in here for a long time.
And as you know, Sun Pop Studios, owned by my son, sells stuff that they can send out
For video purposes.
for video production. What I'm saying is, like, we're having zero trouble getting TV and radio ads produced, even though all the studios are shut down.
Right.
This is an industry that is so easy to do virtually, unbelievably easy to do virtually. And so I had an easy answer.
Now, I have a hard question.
All right.
So let's switch it to say Jim was saying, I can't actually produce a new product, so why advertise for that? And drive traffic when there's no traffic, there's nothing to provide the traffic. I'm thinking about the same thing with our tasting room at the distillery, which is, look, we've been trying to grow awareness of the tasting room so that weekends it's this hot spot. If we had the chance to advertise and get people's awareness that there's a tasting room in their neighborhood, why would we do that right now if we're closed until May?
Okay. Obviously, you haven't watched the video I made on how to advertise, get a type of process.
No, I did.
You really need to watch that.
I'm trying to play the straight man here.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Just before we turned on the camera, the question that I answered yesterday, one of our partners was approached by a client who said, hey, we watched that video and we really, really, really would like to talk to Roy. And can you arrange that? And he goes, yeah, not really. And then the partner said, is there any amount of money you would do this for? And I said, dude, these are people that are important to you? And he said, yeah. And I said, are they the right kind of people? And he goes, yeah, I love these guys. I said, fine. Tell them, schedule it with Corrine. I'll talk to him for an hour as a favor to you. And he goes, you're not going to charge me anything? I said, nope, I'm going to do it as a favor to you. No big deal. And because they had been important clients for him. And so they had the same question you just asked. They said, we spend this huge amount of money in media, mostly online.
Right.
But right now, nobody needs what it is we sell.
Right.
But we saw the video, and we're wondering, how much should we spend to just create awareness and hunger so that when people are buying again, they think of us first and feel the best about us.
So long-term branding
in our
now.
category.
Wow, this might have transitioned to true direct response industry straight into branding.
Well, no. Here's what I told them. Here's what I told them. As I said, because there's nothing we can do or say that's going to put people in the market for this product right this minute.
Right.
Budget an amount of money that is sustainable for you. How much can you afford to spend? If you have to spend this money every month for like 4, 5, 6 months.
With no return. How much could you afford to spend knowing that you're building a tidal wave of response on the back end?
And they said, yeah, we can come up with a number. And these guys previously were spending like $2 million a month, right? And so I know they've got meaningful money. And they said, yeah, we'll come up with a number that is sustainable. And then I said, and so just be patient. Just know that you're farmers and you're planting seeds and you're keeping it watered.
So did you have them change their messaging during that time, or did they just keep doing the same thing they've always been doing, just being more patient on the response?
Well, okay. Because of their category, it is something that will become a high demand service when all this is over.
Right.
When everybody gets to go back to work, this is going to be something that's going to be on everyone's mind. And so it's very easy for them to understand. Oh yeah, people are definitely going to want to do that when they finally have a moment to go back to work.
Right.
And this is something they're all going to want. And so they knew that there's a big payday in the future. And they just wanted to know, how can we get a relationship started now? And I said, it's by acknowledging that you know they're not going to do it right now. And so let me take you back to your distillery.
Yeah.
Tasting room, right? Here's what would be remarkable. And you're enough of a showman, obviously, 19 years on the road as a touring musician. This guy has stood in front of a mic night after night for 19 years, putting on a show for crowds of people. So, yeah. And so what happens is I can see you by yourself, walking around in there, describing about when this is full of happy, laughing people and the stories that are being told and the things that people save up for Friday and Saturday and Sunday at the Fang and Feather. And when you're talking about this deal, it says, hey, we can't do this right now because I couldn't be in here if there was anybody else in here, just by myself. But boy, I wish you were here with me. And instead of showing people there, you just walk around the empty place is haunting. And you go, that is such a cool place. And I would so much like to be there right now, hanging out and experiencing what he's describing. He says, hey, look, but this will be over. And when it is, man, we're going to have a celebration then, aren't we? And so what happens is to stay in touch, telling stories and reminding people of the good times we're going to have when we finally come through this on the other side. And if they've already been there in their imagination over and over and over again, every time you send them a little deal talking about this big thing we're going to do and this is all over. Right? It says right now, all we can do is, and you tell them this is all we can do right now. It's all we can do. But man, when this is over, aren't we going to have a good time then? Aren't we going to have a good time then? And so everybody's going to imagine this good time we're going to have over and over and over and over.
I'm going to try that.
And then you know what's going to happen? You're the people they think of first and feel the best about, and I mean, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Hey, Roy, I have a question about prospecting for new advertising clients during this time. I've always made it my goal to help businesses be more successful. I found that when I do this, I end up being more successful. I'm worried about making cold calls because businesses are scared. If a business has an adaptation model in place, then it would work a lot better if people know about it, but I'm still feeling nervous about making the call. How would you talk to me if I was one of yours? Kevin and Henry.
All right, so Kevin and Henry are saying, we know what to do. We know why it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We just don't have the courage to do it.
Yeah, evidently.
And I'm going, all right, what would I say? I would say, why are you afraid? What's the worst that can possibly happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially the adaptation model, like the restaurants are switching to go in order to stay alive or things like that, you know?
Well, what would be remarkable? What would be remarkable?
On the call?
Yeah, let me put it this way. If you want to be considered as a sustaining resource, times are hard. People are concerned about having enough financial resources to last out. They don't know how long this is going to last. And they are worried about having enough resources to make it to the other side. Well, if you enter into the relationship knowing that, and you don't try to change their mind, you know what I mean? Take a chance, spend some money, who knows? It's like, that's just a bad
Roll
pitch.
the dice.
If I was doing this, let's use your example. All these restaurants that are hoping to sell enough carryout, right?
To at least stay in business long enough to get out the other side.
Hey, as soon as I leave here, Penny knows we're going to call the district kitchen, and Jacob, our favorite waiter, is going to bring it out to the car like he does, hand it through the window. We're going to pay for it online, right?
All right, I'm done.
And we're done. And so I know they're open. I know the League Kitchen has carryout. I know the Shore has has carryout. And I want to keep these places afloat. I want to keep our favorite waiters with a little change coming in too, you know? So what if, Kevin and Henry, you pick a business category or several business categories and you decide you're going to figure out how to publicize in a list who is open and what they're able to do for you. And you did it's like a positive review of things you have available to you during this time, and you don't charge anybody for it.
Yeah, you just, so with your cold call is, hey, we're putting together this list. What can I put on the list for you? What is it you can do?
There's no strings attached. We're just trying to do our part to keep everybody's pay so that you can make payroll, keep your doors open. And then when we get to the other side of this thing, maybe you'll need some help from us someday. But right now, you don't have any money to pay us, and we're just trying to use our skills to help as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And the point is, however you pitch it, you deliver way more than what you're asking for in return. What are you asking for in return? For them to give you a little bit of information about their business so you can make it public for free. And you know what you do? You figure out how to package all this information for all these people that are potentially prospective customers. And even if they're not, everybody recognizes you as a good and trustworthy human being for trying to help. And you're doing what you can with what you have, where you are.
Yep.
That was Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
Do what you can with what you have, where you are. And if you say, you know what, I can aggregate a list of people that are open and they're doing carry out and say, and here's their websites and here's how you find their menus and this is, and you do like a little thing for each one of them. And if you have like a little daily update for different, it's like, hey, these are the stores where seniors can get in on certain days at certain times and right after they restock. So there's still toilet paper left. You know what I mean? And so if you aggregate this information and you're the go-to people, and suddenly everybody's opening your little email every day. You know why? Because it's always full of really good tips and really good news and things that you're glad that you know about.
Right.
And so delivering value. And people go, wow, these guys are remarkable.
Right.
That's not even cold calling.
Yeah, that's aggregation.
That's cold emailing.
Yeah.
And that's just aggregation of information that people want to get out. There's no vehicle for getting it out without spending crap tons of money, and there's no money available for it. So, hey, Kevin and Henry, deliver a way to help people for free and trust that they will remember you when they have money.
Yep.
And
I dig that.
you'll also find the thing that happened. I helped these guys for free. They donated $5,000 to the Academy right after I hung up the phone. I didn't even mention the Academy.
Yeah.
Evidently, our partner mentioned that when they said, wow, that was really awesome, what can we do? How could we say thank you? And he goes, well, you can make a donation to the nonprofit school. They said, great, how do we do that? He says, they got a spot right there on their website. Well, what's the website? And so he gave them the website and they just logged on, boom, 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 bam, there's $5,000.
Right.
That sort of thing can happen for you. Somebody that you do something for free said, hey, that really worked. And we're getting some extra calls and people are mentioning this little email you guys sent out. And would you be willing to help us with such and such? And people who have money and want to spend it will tell you. Why? Because you went first. You delivered value without asking for anything in return. And then they will reach out to you if they have something that compensates you for going to the next level with them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, you get over the fear by offering something that is so incredibly attractive that anybody that doesn't want this is crazy because it's just too good to say no to.
All right, Roy, our restaurant clients have had to close their dining rooms as per law. In an effort to try to get some revenue and retain their key staff, they've gone to a delivery model, curbside pickup, etc. I think it's a great service, but I'm looking for advice on how to differentiate these companies in their advertising. You have any suggestions?
And that's Russ Bryden.
Yes.
And the note says, read the next slide before answering this one.
Okay. Oh, Roy, I believe that our clients know intuitively that staying the course with their advertising campaign and relevant creative in light of COVID-19 is the right strategy, long-term especially. We also have evidence to support it. However, we deal with small businesses that are operating financially close to the edge or have little reserve funds. In light of this and knowing the benefits of staying the course, what would you suggest? We're dealing with an environment where most retail stores and businesses are no longer open, but can still offer delivery or pickup. Cliff, let's go.
Okay. So for Cliff and Russ both. Okay. I know Cliff really well. If we have, I so much want to tell my favorite story about Cliff because it's funny, but it just wouldn't be appropriate to tell right now. But it involves me and him walking out of a government office because we had problems with customs at the border. And he said, I just kept waiting for that guy to shout at you to drop and give him 10 push-ups. And it was this guy, he was kind of a little drill sergeant character, And I remember he was just walking out of this government. I just kept waiting for him to tell you to drop down and give him 10. And I'm going, I laughed so hard that stuff came out my nose. And that's been like 15, 20 years ago. So I remember Cliff. I know Cliff works at a radio station. Here's the thing. Remember what I said about things that are remarkable? So you have these guys that are digging deep to stay on the air. Added value.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, the same thing that I told Hooter and Scooter a minute ago,
Mm-hmm.
if a radio station said, hey, look, we're going to aggregate all of our clients that are trying to keep their doors open and they have a message for the public, and we're going to have a little deal that runs like once an hour for these guys to reinforce, hey, the following restaurants are open and doing curbside, whatever. You go online, you order it, you
An
go on the phone,
alphabetical order.
and then say, and here's what and these guys do Mediterranean food and blah blah blah, and this is their website. These guys do such and such, and and so what happens is if you're constantly doing this, listenership goes up.
Yeah, because everyone's like, this is where I find out what's open.
This is where I find out stuff I hadn't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people that are giving you a little bit of money, help that money stretch. Give them added value so they realize, wow, these guys are really there for me. They're really trying to help me. They're not just trying to milk me. They're really going the extra mile for me. And then you can even say, okay, if you stay on the air with us, even with a little bit of money, we're going to give you this added value. And then as a prospecting tool, you can demonstrate the power of a radio station by contacting some people that need to be advertising but don't think they can afford it. And you said, hey, look, we're gonna mention you 10 times for free. Hopefully something will happen for you.
Right.
And there will be people that say, hey, I just heard you on, B97. And they'll go, oh, wow. Evidently, just those little mentions even matter.
Right.
And they'll get some business and they'll go, oh my God, who knew? People still listen to the radio. And it works. And so demonstrating something. We opened this whole webcast by talking about show, don't tell. Don't talk about how much you care. Show them how much you care.
I would love...
Show them what you can do.
I would love to see a landing page built on the radio website that just said, like kview.com/still open.
Right.
And it was just so
the still open page.
Yeah, the still open. And you just go there to find out who's still open. And anytime they run that ad on the radio, they say, go to kview.com/still open for the whole list.
And what happens is...
And they just keep updating that.
And what happens is now you can monitor how many people can you drive there.
Yep.
And how many people are clicking to jump to the different websites of all the people that are still open.
Now you've got actual information to tell people.
And everybody wants to be on that list. And now you're having a dialogue with them.
And you can update it in between ads. So the ad doesn't have to be changed every time you add 3 people to the list.
Right.
It's like, no, we update it next week.
And so to have contact from every business owner who wants to get in on this, and it's free. Now all of a sudden you're demonstrating what you can do. You're demonstrating the power of your ability to communicate messages.
Right.
And you're doing it for a limited window of time when they weren't going to be spending any meaningful money anyway. And so the one thing that everybody has to kind of like make peace with, in the short term, they're going to get a haircut. They're going to take a hard hit. And so is everybody else.
Yeah.
And whenever you realize, hey, now is the time to demonstrate, to show, not tell.
Right.
Okay? And so we have delayed announcing American Small Business Institute and the Ad Writers Masters class. We've been talking about this for like 2 years and preparing for it. And Daniel goes, man, this is the worst possible time to launch that. Do you know what we should do instead? And I said, what? And he said, what we should do instead is we've been having the webcast for the people who pay us a monthly amount to be part of this special webcast with us every month. Let's start doing that every week and let's do it for free. Just to help as many people as we possibly can. And if we give people good advice, we give it to them for free, maybe that's a really, really good investment for us. Now here's the deal. This guy right here, he's in the same position that everybody else is in.
Yeah.
The school is shut down. Nobody can come to classes. There's no money coming in, none. So what's he saying is the answer? Let's give away really good information for free, no strings attached, and maybe people will remember it when they have money, and maybe the school will still be here whenever this whole thing is over. Well, of course it'll be here because we have no debt.
Right.
We have to make payroll, but we'll figure out a way to do that. The point is, we're not telling you to do anything that he didn't already decided to do.
Yeah.
It's just give away what you can to help the most people you possibly can without worrying about money right now. And
I've been thinking that the biggest mistake I keep seeing around this is that there's a ton of businesses that have had to take a hit. They had no choice. They had to take a hit, and now they're trying to survive. And there's a handful of other businesses who won't have to take a hit. It's not going to impact them at all, but they work directly with the people who did have to take a hit. And the mistake I keep seeing is the people who didn't have to take a hit trying to avoid having to take the hit that everybody else got hit with while still staying connected to the people who are hurting. And it's like, no. If you really want to help, find a way where you have to take the hit too, but it helps those people. Like we all take the hit.
next question.
Dear Roy,
I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah. Dear Roy and Daniel, attaches an ad I wrote after watching Roy's advertising in a time of crisis video. Thank you for that. Roy's experience and wisdom have been encouraging and calming during the uncertainty. I'm not sure we'll run this, but as our message is focused on excellent website capability and it seems to be working pretty well for online sales, yes, we're passing the chance to bond more deeply, but it's safe and at least we acknowledge we're chicken. My question is, do you think the attached can or should turn into a longer campaign? I'm conflicted as Paul has been the single spokesperson for so long now that many people don't remember his dad. It feels like a slight departure from what we've built solely on Paul. On the other hand, it offers insight into who he is and shows a more human, relatable side. If you think we should turn it into a campaign, shouldn't we just rotate in different teachings from Paul's youth, like Dad taught me XYZ, and it's why Sherman's is XYZ now? It might not even need to always be his dad. It might be when XYZ happened, I learned XYZ. I try not to be one of the folks that asks 17 questions at once, but I failed. If you weren't sure before now, I'm in the template writing tribe.
Of course, this is David Weiss, right?
Yeah, he's great.
This is Dave. So for those of you who don't know who Dave Weiss is or who this company is, this is Sherman's Furniture and Appliances in Peoria, Illinois. Now, Sherman's is stunningly successful. These guys sell more appliances than Lowe's and Best Buy and Home Depot and, I mean, everybody that you can imagine that's big into appliances.
Right.
In Peoria, Illinois, they sell more of appliances than all of them combined.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 Home Depot locations and a couple of Best Buy. I mean, it's a fully populated city with major appliance retailers, and he's blowing them all out. Why? Because it's a really remarkable company.
Right.
And instead of boring you with the amazing things they've done over the years, it's just that David Weiss, he comes to every class we teach and has for several years. Paul Sherman is a major donor to the school. He's one of the big reasons that Daniel's probably going to be able to make payroll every month for his small staff. And because Paul sends in money every month, and it's meaningful money, thousands of dollars, just because he loves this place and he credits us with having helped him succeed. Now, here's the deal. So Dave is saying, I'm thinking maybe it's time to do this, but nobody remembers Paul's dad.
Right.
And I'm going, I laughed. This is the last question, by the way.
Right.
I saved this one for last because I laughed so hard when I read this that I just said, oh man, because an hour earlier, just before I sent the thing to Casey Welch, that was the little 15-second TV ad for Morris Jenkins,
Right.
Here's what I wrote. You ready?
Ready.
You ready?
Bring it on.
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Greensboro.
Boom. Now, I'll be Kylie,
All right, I'll be Lane.
and you'll also be Vance and Arnold.
And Van Sant Arnold.
And you see now why I wanted to have this so that Dan can put it up on the screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
My grandfather Tony had 3 sons.
I'm Lane. I'm Vance the Diamond Buyer. And I'm Arnold. I keep these other 2 in line.
Tell me what you learned from my grandfather Tony.
The harder you work, the luckier you get. Always stand by your word. Treat every customer the way you'd like to be treated.
Tell me what you learned from my great-grandfather, Mr. A.
Always give people the true price, not an inflated one. Always sell the best quality because that's what people deserve. Treat every customer the way you'd like to be treated. Vance, I think Arnold has the best memory of all of us. Lane, I think you're right.
Tell me what you want the next generation to always remember.
Every person has a unique gift that needs to be nurtured. It's important to keep balance in your life. Treat every customer the way you would like to be treated. Arnold, you're a really good big brother. Yeah, Arnold, you really are. You're just now realizing that after all these years?
And then they all start laughing. And then
How can I
Kylie
laugh
says,
for 3?
Schiffman's here today, here tomorrow, here for you. Now, these guys have been in business for like 140 years.
Yeah, they're hardcore
This
old
is
school.
fifth generation.
Amazing.
5 generations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Kylie talks about her great-great-grandfather, it was that guy's dad
That
that started the
everything.
company.
Jeez.
And so people remember, see, her great-great-grandfather was Lane's great-grandfather. And he met him. And then he met his grandfather, and of course he knows his dad. And so the two that were the most recent were Mr. A and Tony. And that was Lane's dad and Lane's granddad.
Okay.
But see, nobody's ever met Vance and Arnold in these ads before.
Right.
It's always been Lane and his daughter Kylie. And so I decided we're bringing in all 3 brothers.
All right.
And they're talking about, and there's a whole series of these ads, but we're talking about things they learned from dad and things they learned from granddad. It's mostly just Kyle and Lane. Kylie is the daughter. Lane is her dad. Lane is the spokesperson for the company. I said, no, I'm bringing them all in, and they're going to talk about generations past and what they learned. What's interesting is when you hear this in the different voices, the oldest brother, Arnold, only says one thing over and over and over and over.
Treat every customer.
And so everybody has these different answers. Arnold only says one thing over and over and over and over. And he's like that.
Right.
That really is Arnold. I mean, I didn't write these answers.
Right.
I asked the questions.
What are the things you learned?
And they wrote these answers. And so I didn't even make this stuff up. I just compiled it. And so the point is, this is exactly what David Weiss was asking if he should do. I did it 1 hour before he asked the question. It's exactly what you should do, David. Now, this is the ad that David said he's afraid to run.
Right. As a kid, I vividly remember the phone waking me up at 2 a.m. one night during an ice storm. Dad picked up the phone, put on his clothes, and headed out in a Silco truck to get people's power back on. I've never forgot the lesson he taught me that night. He said, when people are the most vulnerable, you can either answer the call or let it ring. A couple years later, he started Sherman's with that same attitude, and it's still baked into who we are today. Whenever you need us, you can be sure Sherman's will spring to our feet and answer your call.
Now, that's way better than average writing. But because it's David,
Yep.
and because he's the perpetual student,
Yep.
I decided I'm going to say it shorter, and I'm going to change some words that I was a tiny bit, I thought might be fuzzy. As a matter of fact, vividly doesn't need to be there.
Right.
And answer the call. A call is an abstraction. The phone is a physical thing.
Right.
I can see a phone, I can't see a call. And so you can either answer the phone or let it ring. And then a couple of years later, when you started Sherman's, same attitude. That's a little bit long.
Right.
Okay? So now let's read what I turned that into.
Cool. As a kid, I remember the phone ringing at 2 a.m. and my dad putting on his clothes and heading out in a Silco truck to get people's power back on. I asked him why he was doing it. He said, when people are the most vulnerable, you can either answer the phone or let it ring. My dad started Sherman's with that same belief, and I am my father's son. Whenever you need us, you can be sure Sherman's will spring to our feet and be there. Yep.
Now that says exactly the same thing, a little more, fewer words, and with a little more punch.
Right.
Now read it again, then we're going to read the original again,
Right.
and then we're going to call it done.
As a kid, I remember the phone ringing at 2 a.m. and my dad putting on his clothes and heading out in a Silco truck to get people's power back on. I asked him why he was doing it. He said, when people are the most vulnerable, you can either answer the phone or let it ring. My dad started Sherman's with that same belief, and I am my father's son. Whenever you need us, you can be sure Sherman's will spring to our feet and be there.
There's the original.
As a kid, I vividly remember the phone waking me up at 2 a.m. one night during an ice storm. Dad picked up the phone, put on his clothes, and headed out in a Silco truck to get people's power back on. I've never forgot the lesson he taught me that night. He said, when people are the most vulnerable, you can either answer the call or let it ring. A couple years later, he started Sherman's with that same attitude, and it's still baked into who we are today. Whenever you need us, you can be sure Sherman's will spring to our feet and answer your call.
Now see, the one line, and I am my father's son.
Yeah, that's a much heavier line.
And so what happens is it's basically saying, instead of saying this is baked into who we are, so this is what my dad did, and I am my father's son. And so honoring your father, it doesn't matter that people don't remember your dad.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so David, you had a fantastic, brilliant impulse. Find the freaking courage. And I'll perfectly happy to let you use my edit if you like it. It will be our gift to you. And then we were talking about things, about just little things that are entertaining. Remember earlier I said, when a thing is entertaining, it can just be funny.
Right.
It doesn't have to be romantic.
That's right.
Right? Boom. Read it.
After listening her on her drone on for hours, Ginger suddenly realized she was not cut out to be
An emotional support dog after all.
After all.
And so we got to make sure, Dan, that people get to see this because I think it's awesome. That looks like a dog I grew up with named Pearl. And when I saw that, my dog gave me that look all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, did you just fart?
Yeah.
It's like this
Was that you?
really weirdly suspicious look from my dog. It's like, what? And so you probably have a dog like that too. Hey, I don't know how much time this took. I enjoyed it. Hope we didn't take too long to say too little. Are we going to do this again?
We're going to do it next week.
We're going to do it
and the
next
week after. If you have questions, please send them to questions@wizardacademy.org. And we will take questions from anyone, from you, your clients, or any other students or business owners you know.
Or just a person walking down the road.
Just stop the man on the street.
There we go. We'll see you next week.